Well, hello. I'm a minute late. Not like me, is it? It's episode 145, believe it or not. 9th of August. We're nearly there. Chocolatiers, aren't we? We're nearly there. So there's a couple more weeks to go, and then we'll be into. Oh, thank you, Poppet. Thank you. I just got bought snacks. Skittle snacks. I've got a sweet tooth. I'm not sweet, but I'm just. How is everybody doing? I can see Stuart, Nettie. How you doing, Stuart? Stuart's having fun. Stuart's having fun with panning this week, aren't you? So Ruth, Kendrick, I can see. Good evening, all. Billy's there. Billy, you are a very talented man. The little thing that you made on the 3D print. I used to do fishing, and so I get like the boilie making trays, which I've used in industry. There was a company called Gardner Tackle that used to make them, and you could buy them in 16 mil, 17 mil, 18 mil, 20 mil, and they were extortionate. They were like £45 for just the tray to roll. There was one tray that rolled the sausage, and then there was the other tray that had those inverts so that you could do the balls. Very clever, Billy. Very, very, very clever. I loved your comment in the nicest possible way. I won't be making these for anybody. I want the Chocky Chat one though. Who else have we got? Lots of new ones. Flying Banana is there. So this is Paul. Paul, Flying Banana 1970. I believe he is at 36,000 feet on his way back to Australia right now. So I think he's on the Wi-Fi on the airplane. So. Paul, if you're listening, hello to that flight. Hello to Paul. Paul did a hands-on class with me here. Absolutely, really fantastic day. Really what an absolutely enjoyable person to be around. Mountains of energy, loads of experience, loads of great stories. Absolutely fantastic human being. Really, really amazing time. Nadia's Indulgences. Hello, Dolce Mara there down in, I think you're in Johannesburg, aren't you? So I hope everybody had a good week as well. Mrs. So Sassy saying, did everybody have a good week? Jason there, Ethan Bradley Chocolates. Ethan Bradley Chocolates is his son, who I met on a class. He's only a young lad. Jason is inspired in making chocolates now, so he's well and truly off on his journey, so it's all good. Zaid has joined us there. He's a birthday boy today. He's in Jordan. Happy birthday. Ahmed, Nadia, hello. Andrew there, Styling Chocolates. Temper. Hello. Is it Nadia? Good morning. It's good evening. Where are you, Nadia? Where are you in the world? Still too hot for homemade chocolates in Los Angeles. Can't wait for the holidays. B3 Chocolates. Yeah, do you know what? I've got all day today. I've got to nip in and out the fridge because I've got these. I'm just waiting on these retracting. These are. So I'll do cricket balls. So I'm quarter of the way through. So they have pink, white. Oh, there's a load here. Pink, white, and red. I've just got to check these 1 second. I just shelved these. Sprayed them earlier. Just waiting for all these to come out. I sprayed them earlier and just shelled them. And then they've been at room temperature for about 10 minutes, 10-12 minutes, just until they go dull, and then we'll put them in the fridge to force them to retract. I'm going to stand them up on the side just to let any of that moisture just kind of dissipate off. They're all good. There's little dark chocolate lines on there, so I'm going to let those cool down, and I've got to fill in those with caramel. So that's the batch. I've got 39 moulds in total. Started this morning, 7 o'clock, and this is the last 4 trays because I just had to turn some moulds around. So it is a little bit too hot for chocolate making. However, it can be done. All right, it can be done. Paula's there. Hello. Who else have we got? Do I sell chocolate forms? No, I don't sell chocolate moulds at all. I sell cocoa butter and I do classes. We are going to restart doing chocolate bonbons once my new website is up and going and we've finished doing all those bits and pieces. A new package on its way, new packaging on its way, and all kinds of bits and pieces. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to it full time. Pretty fancy chocolates there again in New Zealand. Morning all, good evening all. Kelly there, hi Kelly. Can you give a shout out to Jason Collins for teaching me, coaching me through an apple pâte de fruits? Maddington to you, yeah, absolutely. Jason is a really good pastry chef, actually, really good pastry chef and chocolatier. Absolutely ton of knowledge. I had a really good Melange class with him recently, and it, like, you do that. I know there's a few people that got the classes booked for next week, the Melange class. Like, as we get into it, people get nearer and nearer to the screen, because you see the cogs go, and he's like, oh, all these things that I can make, right? Chocolaka, hello. I'll bake, hello, from across the water. Nadia, you're in New Zealand. You get some lovely places, don't you? Sally Devlin, good evening. Michael Balding, how are you, sir? Temptation Chocolate, you post some lovely stuff, and some lovely stuff being posted. Miss Max, how are you? How's everybody doing? Nathan's joined us. How you doing, Nathan? I've been struggling with Wi-Fi to get below 23 degrees. Do you mean AC? Our Darren Jones, our Reed from Edinburgh. No, they don't. Our Reed is Geordie. That's not Edinburgh. I don't know what they say. I don't know what they say. I don't know what the greeting is in Edinburgh. And I'm not going to attempt that kind of accent. So, here's a question. I'm about to start out my chocolate business. What's the best brand I can use? If you're talking about chocolate, I don't believe that there is a best brand. Okay, I don't. I'm not a chocolate snob. We have Valrhona, which some consider to be one of the best. I'm mixed opinion. I think some of theirs are very nice. I think some of them not a huge fan of. I don't think there is a best brand to use. I think you need to buy the chocolate that you can afford that starts your business. And what you need to take into account is chocolate's going up and up in price. You don't want to waste it. It doesn't matter what brand you buy. You can't afford to waste any. You can't afford to make mistakes. You've got to do the steps logically and in order. I don't think there is a best brand of chocolate. I think, you know, if I liken this back to like days in hotels and in restaurants, and I reposted something this morning of like how we used to present petit fours. We didn't start off like that. And in restaurants, I used to say this to a lot of chefs: your customers can't afford lobster, don't put lobster on the menu. What you need to do is gain the momentum, gain the attraction, gain the trust of higher spending value clients, and then you can start putting lobster on. And I think it's the same with chocolate. You can't, you know, if you go straight in with, you know, Valrhona as an example, if I walked this whole area and I knocked on doors and said, what does Valrhona mean to you? The majority of the public have never even heard of that chocolate. So in the industry, we're aware of Caliber and Luca and all these different brands. But the reality is the public aren't. So what you need to do is find a chocolate that you can afford, a chocolate that sits with your price point, a chocolate that you can get good stock of. You'd be amazed how many people have bought a brand of chocolate to use, and then when they've gone to rebuy it, they can't get hold of it. And they've done their menu templates and they've done it. You know how many people have been caught in that trap? I don't think there's a best brand. I think what you need to do is, as I've said, is find the one that you can get a good sustainable source of. So you don't want to pick something weird and wild and wacky that you only get one bag and you never ever see it again. That's an absolute disaster. So I think this is the reason why so many go down the route of buying Caliber or getting Belcalade or Luke or any of those, is that you can get additional purchase of it. So but good luck on your chocolate journey. Join Chocky Chat. We're doing you know, lots of chats every week, lots of good info, lots of people in Chocky Chat will help you. Got questions, join the Chocky Chat page on Facebook. Mother Baker, how are you? Mother Baker, you just joined twice. No, you haven't. How are you? Why are Amazon so pants? Are they? Have they not delivered? Oh, who's lost 2 trays of nut-based bonbons as they bloomed? Who was that? Paula, you? Should be bloom's either a result of it not being tempered, which I'm sure is not the case for you, or it's improper cooling. Oh, I've got one here. Let's see. So the last one's got to come out. That one is not quite there because those ones haven't, but those ones have. So we'll just give that one another minute or so. Get it going. I'm going to force those to retract. I'll show you these other ones. 1 second. $16 trays of those, 70 in each. So that should keep us going for a little bit. These are all the cricket balls that I do. So I think it's a challenge for me. I mean, I can put the air conditioning on, which I didn't do today. I wish I had. It's much more of a juggle. I think the challenge for me is when it's airbrushing and the room is kind of 24, 25 degrees. I'm kind of in and out the fridge with the moulds. Not uncommon for me. Let's grab a mould. Not uncommon for me to put the mould in the fridge for 30 seconds and then spray half the mould, put it back in the fridge and then spray the other half. Because if the mould's too warm, the cocoa butter won't stick and you end up with all these holes in it and it just looks a little bit unsightly, right? So I think when the weather's warmer, you just got to work so much harder controlling all the temperatures, whereas I think as we get towards winter, it's just a little bit more favourable when the room temperatures are kind of 18 degrees and it's good. So Belfast Bakehouse, how are you? What else have we got? Ariel Mary, literally just finished my first successful panning. Well done. Panning is, I haven't done panning for a long time. It's got to be 15, 16 years since I did panning last. I'm very, 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 very tempted to start again once we get the production back up. I'm very, very tempted to do it again because you can just do great volume, right? You could do. It's quite an addictive pursuit, right? But it comes with its challenges and there's a huge learning curve at the beginning for a lot of people. I'm probably going to need to give myself I'm going to have to refer back to some notes from back in the day. Chocodilic, hello in Jersey. I'm glad you put Jersey because I always say Guernsey, Evelyn. Oh no, Mo, they charge you twice. Yeah. Ariel, do you know, that's an interesting one. Yeah, so when we're panning, we use untempered chocolate. Then we put tempered chocolate, it all hits the side of the bowl and it sticks there. And when it's tumbling, you have to break some of it up with your hands at the beginning, but like if you put too much chocolate in there and it is tempered, it all just sticks to the wall and then nothing happens and it just goes round again. If the speed is too high, you end up centrifugal force, everything gets pushed out to the side. So there's a huge learning curve. To slow the drum down, you can put more in there, but when you put more in there, you have to be a bit more gentle with how you lay all the chocolate in, and then also how you'd apply the cooling to get it all to come off the side of the drum. So, where do you get the storage boxes you just showed? These are from, let me show you. So, I've got, these are silicone sheets, and these are A4 storage boxes from, I get them from Amazon. You can find these all over. You can find eBay, you can find good deals on these. We've got dozens and dozens of them because the wholesale orders get sent out in that. You can double stack them. I don't like to. So we'll do one layer. I get 70 bonbons in there. I can get 70 in there with a kind of little gap at the edge, and we'll send those. You can double stack them, but I don't like doing that because we put all this effort into making them lovely and shiny, and then we stack them up and they all get scuffed, and it's just, might as well not make shiny bonbons if you're going to double stack them. But A4 storage boxes, that's all they are. What would I recommend, couverture or compound? I've never used compound chocolate. There's no point in using compound chocolate. You can't do these shells, you can't get them to release. Compound chocolate generally doesn't have any, they won't release from the mold. Compound chocolate doesn't have any cocoa butter in it, right? So I'm going to pull any of these out. Compound chocolate doesn't have a cocoa butter in, so it's not something I'd use. Couverture every time. It's a little bit more expensive, but you can manipulate it because of the cocoa butter content and the tempering process. So compound chocolate, no, not at all. Paula, that's an interesting one. If you've got a really oily filling and there isn't much chocolate in it, so if you're trying to do a nut paste and make ganduja, and you're doing like 70% nut paste and then only 30% chocolate, you can have a lot of fat floating around. And if it's a dark shell, it will hit the sides very, very quickly and it looks like dust. But what it is fat migration rather than bloom. I preferably use milk chocolate for nut paste rather than dark chocolate. Dark chocolate's brittle, but it's more open pored, microscopic holes in it, and the fat can kind of get through. So chocolate creams, how are you? Today I used the right temperature when I made chocolate, but it's still stuck in the mold. Do you know why? So when things don't retract, I've explained this on previous things. I want you to think of cocoa butter. Think of when cocoa. So we got chocolate, which is say dark chocolate as an example. We got lecithin, which is an emulsifier, a tiny little bit. So we won't worry about that. But like the ingredients for dark chocolate will be sugar, cocoa mass, and cocoa butter. When we melt that above 33.8, all that cocoa butter that had formed beta crystals have gone. If we then cool that down very rapidly, we will get the cocoa butter in the chocolate to form long, thin strands. We call those beta 5 crystals. And what it would look like is, if we took an X-ray of it, it would look like a big mass of candy floss, right? Billions of little filaments throughout that. When they cool down, they shrink, which is why this has come out the mold. So the only reason that those come out the mold is they shrink. Okay, so chefs call it retraction, but we'll use the word shrink. Okay, so that's why they would come out of the mold. If there aren't enough beta crystals or you've damaged them, we would shell a kind of room temperature of 18. I mean, I was shelling at 23 degrees today, so it's 24 at one point. It's 24 degrees and 62% humidity, but you know what, it's all right, we got it done. We would shell, let it go dull, and then we're going to force the temperature down. So ideally it needs to drop below 14 degrees. I'll use the fridge. Fridge is set at 10 degrees. We'll put them in there 10-15 minutes. Got one to come out here now. So those have all retracted except for that row there. I don't know why that row isn't. We can give it a little squeeze, but you can see there that they've all just released, right? So I'm not going to force those because I've cracked them. So if you've got bonbons that are stuck in a mold, it's going to be a temperature. It'll be a temperature issue to do with the beta crystals and how much you've damaged them and the warm up possibly. So there's so many. There are so many reasons. The simple format is that we would shell, tap everything out, scrape it, leave it on its side. We'll leave it to go, the chocolate to go dull, which if it's tempered properly, it will go dull within a few minutes. And then if the room is kind of 15-16 degrees or cooler, they'll probably retract on their own. On a day like this, I will put them in the fridge, stood up on their side, and we'll force them to retract. And then as soon as I finish Chocky Chat, I've got the caramel here. That's the caramel. That's the caramel measured out for the number of molds that I've got left to finish. It's only 5 left to do. So I've got to blend 140 grams of dark chocolate into this one for that amount, and then that amount there is enough for the 5 molds that I've got left to do, and that's that batch finished, and they can go off to the customer tomorrow, or the customer will collect those tomorrow. It's hard to say. I mean, so many things that can affect the chocolate not shrinking. Humidity is always a big one. Humidity will stop the shrinking process of the chocolate, because of the moisture in the air, the chocolate just continues to be malleable, so it kind of gets stuck. We're looking for like dry conditions, so yeah, it's hard to say. So Yeah, Ellen, good answer. So tempering them will slow down fat migration, but if your room temperature is above 21, you're going to have massive fat migration, right? Because the luric fats that are in there at 20, 21 degrees, they're much more fluid. If that room or that temperature was down at 18, you'd find there's literally no fat migration, right? And it's only a couple of degrees, isn't it? Erin there, good evening. Billy saying my first panning session was terrifying. I was in shock. If you've never done panning before and you put all the stuff in and it all tumbles and it all forms one big lump and you're like, I don't know what to do, and you've got to get your hand in there and break it all a little apart. You know, if the drum's too fast, centrifugal, it just all sticks to the side. You put chocolate in there and you've just got this giant ball like tumbling around in it, the machine jumping off everywhere. You learn to slow things down, I think, with panning. You've got to really slow things down. So Ollie makes chocolates. How you doing, Ollie? Was able to make lemon ash in the dehydrator. It did take a while, 160 degrees for at least 2 days. Yeah, Ron, but was it worth it though, Ron? Because it's lemon ash. Lemon and orange ash is really, really nice, right? That'd be would be fun to have a Chocky Chat panning group class. There aren't many panning classes, are there? I think that's something maybe you need to have a think about, actually. Ruth, how do you counteract the natural yellow cocoa butter when you want pure white coloured cocoa butter? It will be to do with the quality of that colour, of which, you know, titanium, there are thousands and thousands of varieties of it at very different prices, from the cheapest stuff to some of the most expensive stuff, which is ultra pure. It's a challenge. I don't know. It's quality of the product. You know, cocoa butter shouldn't be that dark. Cocoa butter should not be that dark. The very, very cheap cocoa butter still has bits of the husk in there. So when you melt it, you'll see it all in the bottom. That tends to darken cocoa butter really, really badly. And no amount of white titanium you put in it will make that any whiter. You just end up with a kind of beige looking cocoa butter. Group panning session on him. Yeah, happy days. Evelyn, finally started playing with that. I saw your post, Evelyn, really, really nice. All these people that want to learn panning. All right, I need to have a think about that, don't I? Which chocolate is better for bonbon, milk or dark? Both are good. Dark's easier to work with, I won't lie. Milk chocolate's a bit more malleable, it's a bit more bendy, right? Whereas dark chocolate's very, very brittle. And generally we would use dark chocolate. Oh, sending me reels. Dark chocolate, generally we would shell at 32. So if we're painting moulds, and I'll refer back to what the thing that's on the side of the bag, the graph that's on the side of the bag, and why it's absolutely useless. The temperature that the bags tell you doesn't take into account, like, we're painting mould. So if we've got a layer of colour, we need to be shelling slightly warmer. I think dark chocolate's easier to use for beginners because you're shelling at 32 degrees generally with dark chocolate. Whereas if you paint or spray and you try shelling white at 29, when you go to turn them out, you find that there's loads of colour stuck to the mould. It's not a tempering issue. It's the chocolate was too cool, right? Particularly white. So we need a slightly yellow. Hashim, yellow. Hello. Billy, want to try your mesh technique? I can't find the mesh. Evelyn, there's a post on my page about using the mesh, or you can follow Billy. It is, you can get different mediums, different types of mesh, different thicknesses of mesh. It will hold its shape, but it's really just a case of putting it over the mold, holding it still and spraying over it. I would use a nylon mesh so that in between you can give it a clean, because eventually you'll get too much cocoa butter on the mesh, and then when you spray, by the time you've done 2 or 3 or 4 cavities, it's kind of a little bit of a mess. Temper. Will clarified butter make a crisp layer softer? I find they're often too hard. I wouldn't put clarified butter in a bonbon because you're going to have a short shelf life on it, right? yeah, a coconut oil would soften it down. I know what you're talking about. I think that what you're trying to do is get more biscuit in there and just use a white chocolate, which would be softer, rather than putting cocoa butter into it, which is much more brittle at room temperature, right? So I would just do it with chocolate, and if you need to, a little bit of coconut oil or just a little bit of vegetable oil if you need to, just to blend through it, right? Will soften it down. I have 2 full-size panners and have made several items, but still scared to attempt almond. Almonds aren't fun. Almonds, we never pan peanuts because, you know, the little nib, they split in half, and if you've got 2 flat edges, they will stick to each other, and another one will stick to it, and before you know it, inside your pan is just a giant M&M the size of, like, you know, small baby's head. Almonds start slow, go really slow, and build up the layers really slowly, right? And I think a lot of people, the reason you see so many almonds that are panned that still have the husk on is the husk holds those 2 halves together. If you get the blanched almonds and try and do it without, once it's gone through a couple of tumbles, if there are any veins that are inside, so you have the big pan with the hollow center, sometimes there are veins at an angle that just toss things around a little bit. The problem with almonds is once they hit those veins, they drop, they shatter. You get a flat piece and a flat piece, and you end up with a big ball of a bit of a nightmare. Alison there, Edible Art, how are you? Humidity has been bit for ganache this week. It's crap weather for doing chocolate at the minute, if I'm honest. I've not struggled, but I've just worked so much harder with humidity. Even if I, you know, we can put the air conditioning on, but it doesn't really soften it really doesn't soften down like the humidity, because we're an island. So I've got the sea is 150 meters that way. So when the sun's out, it's like really humid, really sticky. Yeah, Ron, it's the lemon ash is really nice. Once you nail it, there is no right or wrong way. I couldn't give you a recipe or temperatures. We put them in the oven, and they are in there for 4 or 5 days, and we turn the oven on, turn the oven off, and the lemons and oranges will dry, and then I just keep checking them, and when I think that they're crispy enough, we'll take them out. I can put them in the dehydrator. I can do them in this, and you can do the peelings. But they'd need to be in there a long time at kind of 70 degrees. And I just don't want that on at 70 degrees for that long. Harriet, can I recommend a panning machine? No, I can't. I'm going to have a look at some though. I found some on AliExpress, which it's kind of like, do I, don't I? It seems that panning machines in this country, in the UK, are ridiculously priced. I mean, they are just not worth... I don't know. I don't think they're worth it. I don't know how they justify the price for those things. So I think we need a Chocky Chat Crew afternoon tea or dinner. Yeah. If you want to bring me afternoon tea, I'll quite happily sit and eat it during Chocky Chat. Gosh, has anybody had any success with Amazon stores with chocolates? I've had a couple of interactions with people that have gone down that route, and it's not turned out good. It's more to do with the percentages that they lose, and they weren't generating the volumes that could keep up with the demand. And then the buyback and the stocking on the shelves, it was just percent laid over percent, and they were just running round stupidly for a contract that just wasn't making them any money. So I think what you need to do is go and find your customers and get them to buy direct, right? Rab MC, what's the ideal room temperature for chocolate work? I would say about 20, you know, anything between 18, 19, 20 degrees. Like if I'm spraying and I'm doing cocoa butter work, so we're brushing, painting, 21 degrees more than enough. I don't want it any colder than that because it sets too quickly. At the point that I'm shelling, I'm quite happy, 20 degrees is more than enough. At the point that I want the shells to retract, we need to drop the temperature. So we've got an option of either turning the AC and making the room at 16, which is fine, but you still need air circulating, or you use a fridge, which is just clicked on then. I use a fridge to just drive down that temperature, get the shelves to retract or shrink, and then you'll fill them, because as soon as I finish Chocy Chat, I'm going to fill these last 5 moulds. We'll leave them to set for an hour or two, because it's a chocolate caramel ganache, and then I'll cap them, right? And I've got chocolate in a melting tank. So Susie's Floozy, good evening. James, I didn't know you'd done it. Do I need to put the mesh in the cavity? Because when I tried today, there wasn't a pattern. Yeah, you do. You need to press it in. My one's gone missing in action. I don't know where it's gone. I had a lovely piece of mesh. I'll tell you what we bought. We bought these from. So there's a shop called Decathlon, and there was this full face mask snorkeling thing, and the net bag that it came in, it's the only one I found that was a perfect mesh. It was a little bit thicker, so that when I held it over the mold and pushed it in, it held its shape, whereas the other ones were too flimsy. So I could almost put the mesh over this, press it down, and it held. And then it needs to be fairly close. It needs to be fairly close. But I don't know where my bit of mesh has gone. It's fallen off the edge of the planet. I have to go searching for that one. So yeah, it needs to be fairly close, and you would spray. And I'd say you'd only do a couple of cavities, and then you need to get that little bit. But I only cut a piece that was like, you know, maybe 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, probably smaller. And I do 2 cavities at a time, and then just give it a quick wipe, because you get too much, you know, when you're spraying, you get too much cocoa butter clog up on it. So I just had a cloth nearby, put it in it, quick sandwich, give it a wipe, and then go again, right? Are coffee beans a nightmare in a panning machine? Yeah. Yeah, they are. Coffee beans, in all honesty, are better putting in robing. Like if you've got the patience to do that, and you've got the facility to do that. Panning coffee beans, if they're too brittle, they just shatter, and you end up with a load of coffee granules. True story, I've seen that done, and it's like literally turned around. It's like, what happened? Stuart, if you found almonds easy, then yeah, you need to share the secret. Stuart, did you do them with the husk on or the husk off though? With the husk on, it's so much easier. Chucky Shells, how are you, Michelle? You're on holiday. Mind your temper. I use a Kazama panner, really quiet compared to the KitchenAid attachment. I think the challenge with the KitchenAid one, because we had one at a little restaurant, is the low speed setting is too fast, and there's no way of like you don't want to sit behind it with your hand on a cloth trying to slow the speed down. So the slowest setting on the KitchenAid was too fast for the panning. We really struggled with it, and then we just went off and bought a bigger one because we had a really low speed setting on it. So I did my normal 3-to-1 white chocolate ganache on a cake. When I turned it to cover it split, mega sentence enhancing. It could be, if you were using fresh cream. Now in the summer, cream has less water content, noticeably less water content. So cream in the summer isn't as good as cream in the winter, right? Cream in the spring is probably the best because it's all the fresh grass, right? So there's a good blend of fat to water content. Teaspoon of hot water in there, Mo, might have fixed that. It splits normally. People always think it's fat. When a ganache splits, they think it's to do with too much fat content, and actually what it is, it's not enough water. Sometimes a teaspoon of hot water will bring a ganache back, right? Hi James, trying to survive 3 weeks of 29 to 32 degrees. Finally some cool weather, can't wait. Happy days. Right, if it's cooling down, get it set up, get some cocoa butters melted, and start painting and start getting creative and make some things and ask yourself, do I like them? Tell you what, there is nothing wrong with, I don't have the pan, I don't have the bowl here. I do a lot of shells because we test a lot of colours, and sometimes I will take colours and I'll blend different colours. Like I took the bronze recently and I blended the red tech with it just to see what I would get, and it wasn't nice. It's not kind of one that I would produce. It's not a colour that I would produce that can do anything. But we will make shells, and we will try designs. We will try different things just to see whether it works. And it's not uncommon for me to paint. You know, there's 3, 6, there's 8 rows. It's not uncommon for me to do 8 rows of different designs, and then shell that one just so I can have a look. We'll tip those into a bowl. And then we'll melt those down again, and I'll just use that for shelling. Obviously get to a point where it's just really thinned down, but it's research and development chocolate, so it's not chocolate that I put into production or into making bonbons, but it's the chocolate that I keep aside and we will just use for product testing. Unless you try things, you never know whether it'll work, or you never know whether you like it. But sometimes when you have a little bit of a play, you discover something that you really do like, and I think those are just worthwhile. I think they're just worthwhile moments to do. Right, I'm just going to shut this window. Bear with me a second. The window open and a net flying everywhere. So. Please remind you of what temperature to store bonbons. Room temperature, under 21 degrees if you can. My cylinder is still broken, thank goodness for quiet time and my cat's hammer. Oh, Paula, what's happening with that? Michelle's there, see if you can get the engineers to give you a buzz. They were blank. You used a squeezy bottle to slow you down. You put Are you putting like a Stuart? Are you putting like a dribble of chocolate in there at a time? Does it take a long time? Chocolate shells, yeah. You're on holiday, playing cards with the kids. You guys in the background. Wave to Michelle. She's on holiday. She's supposed to be taking it easy, and she's tuned in for Chocky Chat. No, the cake split, not the ganache. I just didn't firm it up because of the humidity. Oh no, Mo. Work at night. Butter seems to be an issue at the moment. I made a simple buttercream yesterday and it all split, just beating it with icing sugar. No idea why. I had to melt it all and add an emulsifier. Oh gosh. Again, it's butter. When you get to summer, the water content, there's not lots of grass, and the cows need grass because that's what makes good milk, and it's poor pickings. So as we get towards winter, the creams become a bit more fatty, and then when we get round to spring, they're much more calciumified. If they've got much more calcium to it, cream in the summers and butters, it's always kind of a little bit right. God, everybody's having problems with cakes. I love that. Just slightly, I just made extra ganache and put it together again. Mega Anglo-Saxon English. Is that the same as sentence enhancing? Brilliant. Linda there, hello. Just got my landlord to fix my AC. Absolutely, yeah. Ariel, I think you probably do. Where you live, I think you probably need AC, like just to be able to live. So, Missy Max, for pistachio paste or praline, do you add oil? Pistachios are very technically not a nut either. It's a seed. I don't do pistachios very often in the melanger. I'll just put them in the thermo. Mix and blend them. If they are very dry, I tell you what I never do is I never ever roast pistachios, ever. We buy the lovely green ones, we'll put them in the blender and we will just blend them. If they need a little bit of vegetable oil just to help them on their way, we will do that. What you don't want to do is add water to it because it will just emulsify and you'll end up with a giant ball of it'll look like a tennis ball. Very clever, can't do anything with it. Giant pistachio Ferrero Rocher. Pistachios, yeah, we just put them in a Thermomix or a blender and we'll just blend them. If they need a little bit of vegetable oil, we'll do that, or I dare say a little bit of cocoa butter. But the problem if you put cocoa butter in, once that blends up and it goes back to room temperature, it's very solid and we don't want that. We're looking for a paste, right? I hope that answered that one. Pralines, I don't oil. Seed paste will add an oil, particularly black sesame. We'll add, please, for the love of God, do not put toasted sesame oil with black sesame. It's the worst thing in the world. It's absolutely the worst thing I've ever eaten in my entire life. As a judge, we had this black sesame bonbon, and it was white chocolate, and it was toasted sesame. And you know, when you're judging competitions, you don't expect to be looking for a bin to spit something out. It's just four of us all stood there like this stuff. It's just like, it was absolutely the most vile experience. And there's a massive crowd of people staring at us. And we're it's just, give me a bin, give me a tissue, anything, right? And we all had to kind of run off behind the scenes because we'd had this chocolate with toasted sesame in, and black sesame and toasted sesame oil. And I didn't know if it was a stir fry, if it was something from Wagamama. It was just horrendous. So black sesame, yeah, just a little bit of vegetable oil, right? Don't do the toasted one. So what's the difference between a Selmy and a Chocolate World one? Seems everyone has a Selmy, but the Chocolate World one isn't as popular. Different brands, similar concept, just slightly different brand. I think if I'm honest, from talking to lots of students and lots of chocolatiers in my daily business, sell me mostly because of the spares and then the engineers and their ability to get spares out. I know people that have the Chocolate World ones, and they like them, but they've also got Selmies on the side. And I think, having spoken to I talk to a lot of chocolatiers throughout my working week, and I think Michelle will probably second this actually. And Michelle works for Home Chocolate Factory, and they have a huge amount of Selmy product. It's the engineering and the ability to get the spares, and I think it's like with anything. You know, buying the machine is one thing. Having the capacity to, this is why I always recommend commercial fridges, right? If these are Foster fridges, right? If those break, the engineer that comes out's probably got the spares on his van, okay? If I've got a generic, never heard of brand, we're gonna have to wait 3 weeks while he writes off to the company to get a spare part, right? So, I think a lot of choose Selmy based on the after sales and the engineers that know how they work, because they're the most common, right? So always learning. Anglo-Saxon language. Oh, I love that one. So it was Prince Philip, or it's the late Prince Philip, that said to me, sentence enhancing. He'd got into a little argument with somebody. And he was told to stop swearing, and at the top of his voice went, I'm not swearing, I'm sentence enhancing. And then asked me, and I was like, I've never heard of sentence enhancing. Is anyone selling the Dubai chocolate bar, please? You want to make one? Here's the thing. I keep hearing it being called kanafe pastry, and with my background and time spent in the Middle East, and chefs here that will, kanafe is a different thing. So I don't know why it's called the kanafe bar, because the thin pastry that goes through it's called a taif. So I'm always a little bit bemused. It'd be like calling a fillet steak, but it's turbot, right? It's kind of like, so it looks very nice. I don't know if that trend has passed now. Certainly very, very nice. We have 3 engineers and a store full of spare parts that are commonly needed, but obviously still need to order some spares from Italy. There you go, that's the answer. The spares, it's getting the spares. Mo, why can't you be bothered? You're normally like full of energy, so you need to go out and make one, Mo, and then send some to me with jam. We need jam. I also need the Dundee cake. I also need, what else, Mo? Mo, we need to have a chat. Yeah, it's been a long time since I don't even remember what cake is. I have no idea. What is cake? It's been such a long time. 3 daughters, you'd think like, you know, with all the equipment and stuff that we've got, you would think that, and the brownies, and the brownies, you'd think 3 girls. Sophia did a lovely dessert with the little meringue and stuff the other week, and then nothing's going to come around the corner in a minute. It's like nothing's happened since. Yeah, you'd think with 3 daughters, like this house would be full of cake, but there you go. That's me asking for cake, by the way. Anybody feel sorry for me? Chocolate Nana. Hey? You're waiting on cake as well. Even Mrs. So Sassy's waiting on cake. I just said, isn't it really strange with all the equipment and facility that we've got, right?
I even taught them how to do lots of cake.
Absolutely 0 cakes turn up.
I used to make with them carrot cake.
I'm trying to do the sympathetic, disappointed father chat here. It's out of order, isn't it? Should we have a vote on this? Is it out of order that Sophia So Sassy hasn't actually made a cake?
When they do cake...
I spend 4 days cleaning the kitchen. Yeah, happy days.
Sophia.
True story. As I was saying, Mo can't be bothered to make the knafe bar.
Tell Mo, please, but the taste of the cake that you sent is still in...
I know, I just did like a little beg letter for the cake that, I mean, I just about remember how it tasted. It's such a long time ago, isn't it? I just tried my hardest there. There's no love heart, so obviously nobody's tuning into this. Chocolate Nana, I absolutely love the little studio that your hubby built for you. It's absolutely stunning.
Who's that and Mo?
I won't make a cake.
Of cake ever.
Another true story. I won't make a cake unless I die. Brilliant. Lemon drizzle. Yeah, we like lemon drizzles. I could give you a whole list of all the cakes. Shall I give them a whole list of all the cakes that I like? Love cake. I like real cakes. I don't like these. I don't like petit gâteau. Can't be done with that.
Can you
like sticky, you know, the glazed. Not for me. Augusta did the. It was called pigeon. What's the word in Italian? It was it's like a brioche dough with orange, and it's up there in the top 3 things that I've had in my entire life. But again, it was such a long time ago that I don't actually remember. A bit like the Dundee cake. It's kind of, you know, I'm going to put this on. Chocky Chat's going to go on YouTube, and the top thing is going to be, we talked about James's Dundee cake. So I know she does the bars, but I want cake now. I'll bring you a classic kiwi pavlova next time in England. Okay, I'm going to hold you to that. So rhubarb jam. We like rhubarb and ginger jam.
Not ginger.
Yeah.
No.
No, we're not going to pick on gingers. Rhubarb and ginger's lovely.
I know you like gingers because your mum is ginger. You know? Oh, she's not. Okay.
Evelyn made my husband a birthday cake yesterday. Classic Victoria sponge. It was so easy. Glad I don't do chocolate cakes for business anymore. Do you know, a really good Victoria sponge is just the best skill ever, right? Because I think that schools teach it and they just do it rubbish, right? Start trying to make it gluten-free and all the rest of it. Mo's saying this. Do you know where sympathy is in the dictionary? Do you know where sympathy is in the dictionary? It's in between shit and syphilis. Mo made me say that. Mo made me sentence enhance though. Chocolate Nana, yeah, he did an amazing job. That looks like such a, I want to call it a man cave, but it's a chocolate cave, isn't it? Chocolates by Nana. She's created a little, I hope you got the music on and you're just dancing away in there, because it just looks like a really, really cool place. I want a wall of cocoa butter like that. That's not all of it. That's just the stuff for orders. That I put the orders together. I teach in here and I do the orders in here. I don't make the products in there. That's a different place. That's just the stuff for the orders, right? Yeah. There's a wall of stuff over here as well. Rhubarb jam. Sally's saying this is so entertaining. Rhubarb and ginger, that sounds delicious. It's really nice. It's lovely as a filling. If you get the preserved ginger, so it's the one in the jar that's been, they candy it, they boil it, so they peel it, and then they candy it, and it kind of desiccates and it comes in a syrup. That's really nice. If you make a pâte de fruit with rhubarb and then fold in some of the really finely diced preserved ginger, that's nice. Alternatively, make a ginger and rhubarb cake. That's nice as well, right? Woohoo! Brown sugar sponge is good. Yeah, happy day. Oh my god, this is just turned into the best chocky chat ever. Currently making blueberry cheesecake brownie.
Oh, me.
Right, Harriet, just stop. Blueberry cheesecake brownie. I've never tried that. Does that sound quite interesting? No idea what that could taste like. I wonder what that would taste like. That sounds really good, that, doesn't it? No, I don't want the recipe. I want to actually try the cheesecake brownie.
When we go to five-star hotels and we go to buffets, and it's all types of cakes, but never like the ones that you get them from.
I like homemade. Do you know what I like? Do you know my favourite food is? And I've probably said this. I got asked this on a radio interview. And it's like, what's your favourite food? What's favourite? And I said it's every home, every house has this. And as the chocolatiers here as well do the same thing. Everybody has that one dish that they're super proud of, right? So for some people it's a lasagna. For other people it's a roast. For other people it's a brownie that they make. For others it's a cake or a jam that they do, and it's like a family recipe that's protected, and they wheel this thing out for special occasions, and it's weddings or Christmas or birthdays or what have you. That's my favourite food, because you have to be invited. You can't buy it, you can't go to a restaurant, you can't get that out. You have to know the person, you have to be invited. So now hospitality's involved, conversation's involved, who you're talking with, it's the whole scene, but that elongates the experience of the food. That's really good. I love homemade cakes. I'm not into the designer stuff. I'm just not. I think maybe because I've seen too much of it in competition work, right? Just these works of art, and you cut into it, and you know, I think if you ever judged on a competition and you've had to eat 600 to 800 items in a day, in terms of tasting, you're like, you know, you kind of like, I'd never buy lobster.
We do.
I'd have to. Well, we do.
Because we have
I wouldn't choose steak. I'd always
and
choose chicken liver, right? So, Nettie, CCC, cake chat crew. Chocolate with ginger, happy days. Working on a butterscotch ganache with bourbon caramel, and I'm loving it. Happy days. Chocky Chat Crew cake line, this is brilliant. We used to have loads of people come to the home chocolate factory from abroad with suitcases for moulds. Yeah. Chefs, what's a good filling to complying with black sesame seed? Lime, every single time. Lime will bring out the flavour of black sesame. A bit like black pepper will bring out the flavour of pineapple. Black pepper will bring out the flavour of strawberries as well, or a little bit balsamic, but put black pepper on strawberries. I know it sounds a little bit weird, but it really pulls out, it tones down one of the acids in there, and it pulls up another one, a flavonoid. Black sesame and lime. Yeah, black sesame and lime. It's like cinnamon and apples, right? You put cinnamon on apples, it tastes more appley, doesn't it? Right? Cake consuming queue. I just got a great taste award for my yuzu and black sesame. Yeah, yuzu. Black sesame goes really well with the perfumed fruit. So passion fruit, yuzu, calamansi, although those two are really stupid expensive. Lime. Make a lime pâte de fruit, put a black sesame and white chocolate kind of ganache, or it's not, it's more a ganduya than it is. Over the top of it, nowhere to hide, nothing to go wrong, right? Comments are all off the rails tonight. Happy days. My Dundee was my Granny Mac's recipe, over 100 years old. I don't know, Mo. I got a vague memory of it. Rania ate 96% of it. I had a tiny little wedge like that. If you can imagine the tiniest little, look like the end of a piping bag, that's kind of what I got. Butterscotch is always good, and which is caramel with butter, like lots of butter whipped through it, right? But like just brown the butter a little bit first. So, thank you. I just made strawberry and balsamic. Weird, but so good. Yeah. Especially if you buy a good balsamic. If you can get, don't buy those syrup things. Balsamic is one of those things that the more you pay, the better it gets, because as it gets aged, the acidity tones down and it becomes kind of quite sweet. It's still acidic, but it's got this sweetness to it. That's the one that you would dip with strawberries, and it's another world. It's absolutely another taste altogether. God, what's going on? Mrs. So Sassy was arguing at the door here, and now she's here, so I've got to kind of multitask now. Mo, is that right, that the cake was for Rania? Who was it making the salt and vinegar crisp ganache? Talking about weird combo. Isn't the bar of crisps, that's had some controversy, isn't it, with the radio show? But I believe that business is absolutely... thanks, Mo. I believe that business is prospering and doing really, really well. Yeah, thanks, Mo. Friend, mate. Was it Annabelle's? I don't know. I don't know who did the salt and vinegar. No, it was salt and vinegar near chocolate. No, thank you. Yeah, so dude, raspberry caramel. I made a raspberry strawberry caramel. Just deglaze it a little bit with a little bit of balsamic. It's really, really good. But if you think about fruits, if you think about caramels, we're trying to sweeten them. We're always looking for an acidity. So you can create a longer flavour with acids. I've talked about this before with citric acid, malic acid, or lemon juice. I mean, certainly restaurants I've worked in. Actually, Michelle here, Michelle, you back me up here. Was there, or Midsummer House, was there or was there not, on every single section, pre-service, a little bottle of freshly squeezed lemon juice? Because you do put little drops, 1 or 2 drops of lemon juice into literally every sauce before it goes, would highlight those flavours. Not in advance, literally as it's being served. Makes it a world absolute... Lemon is just one of the best... Lemon and salt are two of the most best... They're just the best ingredients to... We can add acidity, or we can add salt to something and really pull out the flavour, right? And I think with too many chocolates, we get to taste a lot of chocolates. A lot of them are really, really sweet, and I think sometimes, in my opinion, we've lost the art of making savoury things with chocolate. And I don't mean hardcore savoury, like no sweetness at all, but not sweet, just more on the borderline of almost being savoury. I think we need to get back to that a little bit with chocolate. Love deglazing raspberry vinegar, happy days, yeah. Do you know what we used to buy date balsamic, and I can't find it anymore, and it was a really, really good one, and it was really thick, treacly, like... but then I did some work with Rizzagallo in Italy, and I worked for a quite famous chef, and my life was risottos. Everything had a risotto on it, and I was responsible for cooking the base for everybody, for all the restaurants. And I got sent off to Italy, and I remember going to this dinner, and after dinner, before we got to like this cheese course, they came round and squeezed this really thick balsamic vinegar onto a teaspoon, and it was he described it as a decongestant. Is it decongestant? Digestive? Yeah, digestive. It was that memorable, right? Because it's like everything we ate after that, when we had the cheese course, it's like getting new taste buds again. It was like a reset, right? So, yeah, happy days. Right, what have we got? We got 9:30. We didn't really talk about much tonight. Mostly cake. What did we cover tonight? We've answered a few questions. I just got to think about what decongestant as well. Yeah, decongestant. Yeah, if vinegar's got too much, if the vinegar's got too much acid in it, yeah, just definitely be a decongestant after you cough for 4 hours. What's going on? We're nearly there. No, I want cake. Yeah, me too. What a lovely chat tonight. I wish I could see more of you guys, but I can't. Lovely cake session. we talked about cake, but we also just did talk about some lovely, lovely flavours, and we talked about some very realistic flavours that customers would recognise. And I have said time and time and time again, make things that people want to buy. So find your favourite and recreate it. If you've got a Dundee cake, what is it that makes it special, and would you make that into a ganache? Make things that people want to buy, and that people want to buy things that either creates nostalgia, a great food memory, and it's recognisable. So if you start putting weird concoctions together, I had a lime and walnut and it was just terrible, and I just don't know why you put those two things together. Have a think about those flavours, because like, whilst we joked a little bit about cake tonight, there's some really good lessons in there about what you could make or what you could do, or the flavours that you're looking for. So have a lovely week, everybody. I'm going to schedule some classes next week. They're offline at the minute because I've got too many of them and I've got a bit of a busy boy. I'm going to go and find some cake. Everybody have a nice week. Be nice to people, especially those closest to you. Love to the girls, but not me, Mo, obviously, right? Have an absolutely wonderful, wonderful, wonderful week. We're nearly there, a couple more weeks, and we're going to be back to chocolate season. So, what did I want to say? Have an amazing weekend. Have an amazing week. Take care.